here's how I'd like to, I mean, the first question that I would ask is, this group of people, is what are we going to see? We have a Democratic president, Democrat or president-elect, we're looking at a Democratic Congress. What are we going to see in the first 100 days? You know, for instance, how are, and if possible, how will might that trickle down and play into Philadelphia issues, like the green job economy and so on. So maybe just a brief, maybe y'all could say something and then we'll just open it up. Everyone can talk.
I am not terribly optimistic. What I want to see happen is that people who supported Obama based on what they believed he stood for stay in motion about those goals. For example, you know, our union and the California Nurses Association, the most powerful nurses union in the country, have all endorsed single payer because we don't think that there's any way to compromise with the insurance companies. The Medicare for All bill that was introduced by Conyers in the last session has 90 co-sponsors, right? There is no reason not to make that the priority, except for the fact that the insurance companies still hold sway.
What committee is that in?
I'm not sure, but it's House Bill 676. It has 90 sponsors in this session, and in Philadelphia it has Bob Brady, Chaka Fattah, and Patrick Murphy on board, but not Allison Schwartz, not Joe Sestak.
Why not Allison Schwartz?
Allison Schwartz is married to a doctor, and she has never been a liberal, so that's why. But you know, that's one issue that I think we need to continue to push, because that is a step which jives with all the other issues. It reduces dramatically the size of our healthcare establishment. You know, puts all the money into healthcare instead of 30% going into insurance companies, releases all that energy and resources from insurance companies to go into doing something useful for society instead of piling up bonuses for insurance company executives, right? So that's something that I think, you know, we need to be aware of. And we also, the green economy does not mean growing the economy. It means downsizing and moving sideways to more labor-intensive work, which needs to be valued. What we need here in Philadelphia is not a single new building. We need retrofits of the buildings we have, which is very labor-intensive and provides an opportunity to create thousands of jobs, right? Respectable jobs with appropriate attention to the safety of workers, and with creative financing.
Trade jobs.
Right, creative financing to make them possible. And one way is when you retrofit somebody's house for utilities, cut their utility bills by 2/3, then they pay it off out of the savings on their utility bill, right? Yeah. So there's all kinds of ways to do that. I mean, that's the green economy is not,
some amazing thing.
Plug-in hybrid vehicles. That's not the green economy. That's Detroit's fantasy for subsidies. Okay, but I mean that's something that we really, and the city has a lot of ability to have an influence in that, and we have to argue for that's what the green economy is. We need urban agriculture. We need bicycle mechanics. We need all those kinds of things. I think the best vision of this overall is the one that Van Jones has been propagating through the Green for All website and through his recent book, The Green Economy. But I don't know that this is going to penetrate Washington, and I think we have to hammer it, because when I look at Paul Volcker being in the inner circle of the advisors, the economic advisors, I don't know how many people here know who Paul Volcker is. Okay, he was the Fed chairman under Reagan, who orchestrated the Reagan recession in the early '80s as a deliberate policy to downsize the income of working people. So, I mean, the pressure has to be on Obama. That's my comment.
In the first 100 days, I would like to see President Obama focus on alternative energy, infrastructure, and the green economy, perhaps defined a little more broadly. You know, it's clear that we have been living in a society that is unsustainable, both economically and environmentally, and I think this crisis is also an opportunity. And I think that really needs to be the top priority of the new administration. Or those three things need to be the top priorities. I think healthcare is next. And I would say that those would probably be the two most important things to do in the first year. Again, President-elect Obama did not run on a single-payer platform. How politically viable that is, I question. I think sometimes in a lot of issues, including healthcare, we tend to look at, I mean, there is a danger of the perfect becoming the enemy of the good, and at least from my perspective. And I think it is possible to make incremental progress there.
Although, when you say politically viable, the majority of people polled in every poll in the last 3 years has supported single payer, from all across the country, from all economic backgrounds and levels. So the question of political viability then becomes not, is this something that people want? It's something whether, you know,
the candidates can't afford it.
It's the inside-outside game, because, you know, the inside players in Washington don't want it, and the people outside do want it. So how do we play that game?
Campaign finance reform, which, when will that ever happen? It's not even an issue. It seems to have fallen off the table, as far as I can tell.
So I mean, I think we'll have this kind of, there'll be some like gamesmanship around lowering expectations. It's, and I think the key is that to not expect things of government, and that includes up to the next president. Like, that's not, we're the people, we have to organize. He's an organizer. You know, I think we need to invest in organizing at all levels. I think we should even try to get federal and resources for organizing. It actually doesn't cost that much money to have people trained and to work to address problems locally, and those can be all sorts of kind of problems that we deal with in our communities. And I just know, like, as someone who worked as an organizer in Boston, having financial resources to organize makes a huge difference, and philanthropic dollars don't go to it. That needs to change also. So I would hope certain things about the next president, but I don't sort of expect that things of him. Like, I think it's our job to do work, and that work is hard. Certainly, the same way we do with Michael Nutter locally, we need to hold people accountable to what they say during their campaigns. That's part of our role, but it's not the only thing that we need to do. I think we need to expect a lot more of ourselves. Given the current economic situation, we need to be much more self-reliant in our communities. I think that's mostly what I wanted to say. I'm excited about it. I think just having kind of change as something that someone runs on does create a huge opportunity for people. I think that the last 8 years has stifled a lot of organizing, and I'd certainly rather prefer politicians who embrace change, because it makes it a lot easier for us.
But don't you think, I mean, the two things that I worry about is, first of all, you know, the economy is driving money.
Right.
I mean, people are holding on to their money. So nonprofit work or volunteer work just, it seems to me, becomes scarcer. That's one thing. And then the other thing is, it's easy, or it seemed necessary to stand up against a Bush administration and all those wrong-headed ideologies, whereas now, I know I feel hopeful too, but the easy thing to do is to say, oh, finally, you know, I can go home and take a nap because someone is at the helm who cares and is going to steer us in the right direction, and I know that that's not true. Exactly. Those are dangers. So
exactly. And that's a big issue with the war, right? I mean, I think people will say, oh, well, you know, he's not going to put our men and women in harm's way, but I mean, it's why IBAW's strategy doesn't rely on politicians to make decisions about the war.